Steve Dotto here. How the heck you doing this fine day? Me? I am tickety-boo. Thanks for asking. Today on Dotto Tech, we have an exciting show because we are going to be taking a look at Dropbox Paper, which sort of goes head-to-head with Google Drive, but not really. And it even sort of competes with Evernote, but not really. And to a certain extent, it even competes with Slack, but not really. Dropbox Paper is its own unique collaboration service specifically designed by Dropbox for Dropbox users, and you and I benefit. So today we're taking a look at what I think is actually a pretty darned good tool. Dropbox Paper on Dotto Tech. Collaboration tools are wonderful. They just make us work better. And there's lots of different choices out there for collaboration tools. And frankly, anytime I look at any productivity app at all, I'm looking for how well it works in a collaborative environment. I work with a virtual team. Many of us do. And even those of us that don't necessarily always work with a virtual team, we're often working on the same documents and the same projects with a team. So we need tools that allow us to collaborate and work more effectively. Now, we've looked in the past at Evernote and using it for collaboration, and it's a great tool for collaboration. And we've looked at Google Drive, which is all about collaboration. But most of us are already using Dropbox in collaboration in some way or another because of the great file sharing functionality that Dropbox has and the convenience that it provides. Well, Dropbox is stepping up their game by giving us now a true collaboration tool called Paper, which really allows us to collaborate on documents. It's not as full-featured as what we see in Google Drive with spreadsheets and all of those other types of documents. Dropbox Paper, at least at the beginning, is really only for kind of Word-type documents or word processing type documents, but they have their own unique spin, and I think they've done a pretty fine job. What say you and I take a look? Now, one thing that I need to get out of the way right away is you have to sign into Dropbox Paper at the Dropbox Paper page. So you go to their website, Dropbox Paper, you sign in with your Dropbox account. You don't see any reference to Dropbox Paper in your regular Dropbox account. If we take a look here, if I do the drop-down menu of my Dropbox account and just open the folder, you can see that there's no reference here to Dropbox Paper in any way. And as a matter of fact, you don't actually see any of your Dropbox Paper files in Dropbox, at least currently. They say on their FAQs that at some point that functionality may be added, but right now, even though it uses your Dropbox account, it's a discrete service within Dropbox, and it doesn't count against your Dropbox storage, which is really nice. So when you sign in, you're going to be brought into a page that looks like this. You sign in with your Dropbox account, as I say, and they've got some nice sample documents here that'll walk you through how it all works. So spend some time and go through the different kind of formats that they have set up here for you. But I'll just dive in right now and show you how we've started to use it ourselves here on Dotto Tech, and it'll give you a really good idea of how it works. So I've created a folder for our blog posts so that Jen and I can share blog posts. And as you can see, we've just started with it, but it's got some really nice collaborative features, and that's what this is all about. It's all about collaboration. So when you start a new document or you open an existing document, you're brought into a very much a word processor type environment, except that each of your text areas is a kind of its own distinct block. Anytime you hit a return, you've got almost a discrete element that you have, because by hitting on the plus sign here at any point, you can add new content. That's how you go about adding content. You can add content within a block that's already in place, or a snippet, I guess we could call it, that's already in place by just going in and typing within it. That adds text. But if you hit return, it'll create another block of text, but you see the plus sign is there, meaning that that doesn't necessarily just have to be text. If we click on that, we can see at this point here, we can incorporate an image that we can upload. We can insert a file from Dropbox if we're working that way. We can insert a table, a bullet list, a task list, which is really interesting as we move along. You can set a divider, and you can also insert code. If you're a code writer, this is a great tool for writing code, and it actually parses out the code for you quite nicely. We're not going to do that, so don't worry right now. But instead, let's just take a look at, say, adding a to-do list, a task list, which I love this functionality. So if I, at this point here, while I'm editing this story, let's say that maybe Jen has written the story, I'm now in editing mode in the story, and I say, oh, you know what I need Jen to do is I need to do, say, and I can even assign it to her by putting in an @ sign, and anybody on your team, you can identify it to them. She will now get noticed because I've set it up so that she's shared in this particular document, and we do the sharing under the share menu up here in the top where you adjust who the document is shared with. I can now assign this to her and say, Jen, please check the facts on this, or something similar, and now she has an assignment. So she'll actually be notified that she has a task. When she does the task, she can check it off, and I can see that it's checked off. And just like in any kind of collaborative editing document, all of these kind of notes will be stripped out later on when we go to actually publish this document, depending on what form we're going to publish it in. Not only do we have the ability to, within the document, create these sort of notes and these tasks, but we can also at any point, by going over here on the right-hand side, we can add little comments. I can say, I love this, but we need a graphic. And if I want to kind of soften the blow, I can use an emoji with the ever popular skipping wizard. I have no idea why I'd want to do that, or a wizard doing something. Oh, he's making a rainbow. There we go. So anyway, so you can add little extra comments as you're going and as you're working through and collaborating in the document. It's also got very powerful formatting features built into it. By highlighting any piece of text, we get an immediate pop-up that allows us to format it in a variety of different ways. We can format it as bold text, right through, etc. We can insert a link if we choose. We can add comments to it. We can turn it into the task that we saw earlier. But we can also, as I mentioned, we can also create links. Now, adding a link adds a URL link to whatever we're putting. So let's just put our website address in here. There we go. And now we have a link in the document as well. Now, one thing that I really like about how Instagram, or how I'm reading Instagram stories. One thing I really like about how Dropbox Paper works is all of the formatting that we create in this web-based document seems to translate really nicely through when I'm going into my WordPress site and when I'm actually posting blog posts. So it's reducing the amount of time we spend formatting as we migrate content over into WordPress. So that's just a kind of a nice little aside. But the bottom line is we can go through and you can edit all of the different elements within it. You can add new text, new graphics. If you click on any of the graphic elements, you have the ability to do basic formatting with that graphic. So I can make this, instead of being outside of the outside of the text, I can make it float to the left, or I can make it float to the right with the text wrapping around it if I choose to, or kind of set it up in all those sorts of ways. So you've got all those different abilities right within this document. As far as writing, it seems to be just a fine word processor to write in, but the key to Dropbox Paper is not necessarily composition. It's all about collaboration, and the fact that we can set up and we can share the document back and forth and work on it collaboratively is the real magic behind Dropbox Paper. And one thing that I really noticed very valuable is you can also go in and view the history, which will allow you to see the history of the document and the edits and changes. Now, this is really important in a collaborative document because sometimes people make a change that you want to go back on, or you want to review what that change was. And a key to it right now is the revisions do not count against your Dropbox storage space either. So the original document doesn't count, and you can have as many revisions as you want that also don't count against your Dropbox storage space. I think that this is a really nice first step. As far as collaborative word processing goes, this is one of the nicest tools that I've seen. Actually, I'm going to say more than that. I'm going to say this is the nicest collaborative word processing tool that I've seen. I like how they define each element within the document as its own kind of little snippet that you can go through and edit, and you can manage that way. Once you copy and paste it, it all just becomes one contiguous document, so that's not a big deal. I love the fact that the comments are kind of in line, but just slightly removed, so that you can go at any point on the page and you can add a comment, and it's kind of attached to that little, what I'm calling it, a snippet. Maybe they have a better term for it. So I really like that as well. Now, not only do we have the ability to edit and manage the documents here on our desktop, but there's also a fairly full-featured smartphone client for it as well. And let me just take you into that and show you that for just a moment. I've got it here on my iPhone, and when I go into it, I can see the entire roster of stories that we've shared that I have in my file. And if I tap it, let's take a look at this story that we're working on right here, right now. And we can see that we have all of the same formatting available to us. It resolves really nicely in the smartphone. I can go through and I can do most of what I can do on the desktop right here on the smartphone. But I think for the most part on the smartphone, you're just going to be reading it. And I wonder if you can comment. Can we comment? Yes, if I add a comment. Oh, it does. It allows me to add a comment. Beautiful. I haven't tried that yet on the smartphone. So you can do the same basic collaboration as we do on the desktop here on the smartphone. Dropbox Paper is a collaborative tool which I think most people are going to start out by comparing immediately to Google Drive. But I think that the simple collaboration, the fact that they've looked at how we talk back and forth as we're working on a document, they've paid more attention to that than they have to giving us a full-featured Office suite the way that Google Drive is. It's a simpler application, but I think it's more functional as far as a true collaborative process, at least at this point. And that this is just their first revision of the application. I didn't think that I was going to like Dropbox Paper as much as I do like Dropbox Paper, but after using it for a little bit, it's already become a tool that we've decided that we're going to use, at least for the time being, here at Dottotech. Well, I hope you found today's video to be useful. Now, there's 3 ways for you to stay in touch with us here on Dottotech. The first is please subscribe to this channel. Secondly, subscribe to our newsletter. That way you'll hear about any upcoming live events and tutorials and trainings that we provide on a regular basis here on Dottotech. And finally, Dottotech is a community-funded channel supported through the generosity of you folks at the crowdfunding site Patreon. Please drop by our Patreon page, take a look, and discover what perks are included with Dottotech, because those perks are a little bit of awesomeness. Till next time, I'm Steve Dotto. Have fun storming a castle.